Okay, so this is the Circle Lab, and it is designed to get you started in measurement and data collection. So you're really learning how to take good measurements and then putting them into Logger Pro, which is our main graphing tool. The idea is to kind of get you used to how we're collecting data and how we're interpreting that data really for the rest of the semester, right? So to start, you need, oops, I need to share. To start, you need at least 5 circles. So here's my circles. I've got a thing for my balance and then some chapstick, some duct tape that I have lying around, a cup, and then one of my lab stools. All right, so you can use anything that is a circle. It's up to you. So whatever circles you have lying around, they're fair game. Now, you can also, this was something that a student did a while back. She just drew circles on paper. You can totally do that. If you have a compass or if you have things that you can trace, you can draw the circles on paper and measure them there. A lot of people find that easier. Some people don't. It just depends on you. So that's the first part. So for each circle, you are going to be measuring the circumference in the diameter. You will also be measuring in 2 different units. So we're going to start with centimeters, and then we're also going to measure that in inches. Now, measuring circles can be tricky. And remember, the circumference is the distance around the edge of a circle. So here's my cup, and this is my circle. Actually, I'm going to go inside the lip because I don't think I can measure this very well. But we're going to take a string. This is one way you can do it. You can take a string and wrap it around. And this point here, where those 2 strings meet, mark that. So take a pin with your dominant hand. Take a pin and mark where those 2 strings meet. I do this because I tend to drop things, and it's a lot easier to figure that out than have to remeasure. So if you have this marked, it's a little bit easier, right? So we have our string. And then we're just going to take our ruler and we're going to measure it. So here's my ruler and my string. And I'm going to take the string and I'm going to put this end here on 0. Make sure it's on 0 and not the end of the ruler, because the end of the ruler isn't always 0. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it along our ruler. And now I will move the ruler so you can see it. And zoom in a little bit because I want to, oops, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see these numbers. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so you can see those numbers a little better. All right, so line this up. All right, now precision is the degree to which you measure your measurements. So the precision to which you record your measurements is going to depend on your ruler. So ideally, what we would do is we would measure to the nearest 1/10 of a millimeter. But if you look at this, oops, when you look at this and you zoom in, you can't really measure your mark. It's hard to estimate. So if we look at this, we are at 23 centimeters. This is a half. And about 6. So remember, metric is based on 10. So there are 10 divisions in between each centimeter. So all of those little lines are 10. So this would be 23.6 centimeters. Now ideally we would measure to the in between the millimeters, but millimeters are pretty small. So even if we estimate, that's not going to be as precise as we would want it. So I'm okay with you going to 23.6. Now we also want to measure in inches. So we're going to do the same thing. This particular ruler has inches on the other side. Very nice. So we're going to again line up and put our, oops, gosh, not a good day to measure circles, is it? Okay. I'm struggling with my ruler today. All right. So I line up our string. Now, imperial measurements are not based on 10. This ruler is marked in inches, so each number on here is an inch,
And then the inches are divided in half. So here's a half an inch, and then that's divided in half. So there's a quarter, an eighth, and a 16th. So this ruler is measured in 16ths of an inches. 16ths of an inch. So each little line is a 16th of an inch. There we go. All right, so if we come over to our line, remember, each one is a 16th. So if we count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about and a half. Actually, that one, it's easier to measure in between the 16ths of an inch than it is the centimeters. So when you record your measurements, what did I say? 2, 4, 6, 6 16ths. So this is 9 3/8 inches. So you do want to record to the nearest 16th if that's what your ruler is measured in. Now you can get rulers that are measured into the 32nd, which would be another line in between each one. And this does look like it's just about right halfway in between those two 16ths. So you could say, let's see if this is 6 16ths, it'd be 13 32nds. You can record it as that. All right, now the diameter of a circle is the distance across. And not just any distance, it's the distance across the center. So if you're measuring, you want to kind of start where you think the center is. And probably the easiest way to do that is just to kind of rotate this around. If you notice, your distance on the inside is changing, okay? So if you keep this in the same place, oops, there we go. Keep it in the same place. The longest distance that you find as you're rotating this along is going to be through the center, okay? So you're going to measure same way. You're going to take it at 0 and come over. This is going to be, oops, this is going to be about 7.3 centimeters. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing. You're going to measure the diameter. Now let's look at these circles on paper for a second, because here's something that you can do that might make life a little bit easier if you have it on paper. So you can do the same thing. Find a starting point and just start here at 0. You can just very carefully move your ruler around. You can also use the string. So if you set your string up and go around, do this, it does the same thing. So you can measure the circumference with a string or by taking your ruler all the way around. Now there is a little trick to finding the exact center of a circle. This is kind of handy if you ever need to do it. We do this a lot in my robotics where we have to make wheels. Center is important. So if you draw a line at any point, okay, you're just going to draw a line across the circle and find the center of that line. So it's kind of handy if you find a point where this was 7 centimeters. So 3.5 is the center of that line. And then you can draw where is it? At a right angle. If you take that and draw a line, this is called a perpendicular bisector, right? So we're drawing at a right angle. Whoops, sort of, if I go through the center. If we go through the center, it's called a bisector. There we go. So just draw this line. So this is your perpendicular bisector of the line that you drew across your circle. Now somewhere along this line is the center of our circle, but we don't know really where yet. So we're going to draw another line. Let's make this one from here to here. Maybe 4 is not a good number. Let's go from here to here. From here to here is 5. So we're going to go 2.5. So this is the center of this line. You're going to do the same thing. Line it up so that you are at a 90-degree angle. Draw a line through the center. This right here is the center of your circle. So where those two lines, those perpendicular bisectors meet, that's the center of your circle. So now you can just take your ruler and go through the center like so. That was pretty close. So this right here is 7.6 centimeters. So if we look at our diameter, it's going to be 7.6 centimeters across. Okay, so that's one way you can do it if you've drawn your circles. It's kind of a handy trick to know if you ever need to know the center of a circle. That's a really good one. So once you have your circumferences and your diameters measured out, you can put this into Logger Pro. So what we're looking at is we're looking at how does the diameter of the circle affect the circumference? That's really our big question here. All right, so we're looking at the relationship between the diameter of a circle and its circumference. So diameter is what we're changing, right? When we draw a circle, we draw it to a certain diameter. So that's going to be our independent variable. So diameter is going to be the variable that you put on the x-axis. The circumference changes when we change the diameter. So that's going to be our dependent variable. That's going to go on our y-axis. So when we graph this, we want diameters on the x-axis and circumferences on the y-axis. And you will do this for both centimeters and inches, and we're going to compare that and see what happens.